Ever been somewhere new and felt a chill you just couldn't explain? This is the story of Ali, who went to visit a friend in a remote village. It's a story that will make you think twice about closed doors. One night, the power went out. It was around 1 a.m. and the whole village plunged into darkness. As everyone else headed to bed, Ollie noticed something odd about his friend's house. There was this one room at the very end of the hallway that was always locked. Ollie, trying to lighten the mood, laughed and said, "What are you guys hiding in their treasure?" He was just joking, trying to break the silence. But then, from inside that locked room came a sound. A soft, faint knock. Tap, tap. It was barely audible, but it was there. And then a whisper seemed to seep through the wood of the door, a voice so soft it was like the rustle of dry leaves, saying, "Come in." Ollie's blood ran cold. The laughter died in his throat. He looked at his friend, whose face had gone pale in the moonlight, streaming through the window. "Did you hear that?" Ollie whispered. His friend just stared at the door, speechless, his eyes wide with a fear Ollie had never seen before. Curiosity, mixed with a heavy dose of dread, took over. He felt an irresistible pull towards the door, as if an invisible hand were tugging at his shirt. He had to know what was inside. Against his better judgment, against the silent pleading in his friend's eyes, Ali reached for the doorknob. It was cold, strangely cold, like a piece of ice. He turned it. The lock, which was supposed to be secure, clicked open with an eerie ease. The door creaked open, revealing a room that seemed to have been frozen in time. A wave of cold, musty air rushed out, carrying the smell of dust and decay. The room was dark, but the moonlight filtering in revealed its contents. It was filled with old, forgotten furniture, all draped in white sheets like slumbering ghosts. But it wasn't the furniture that grabbed Ali's attention. It was the walls. They were covered from floor to ceiling with portraits, dozens of them. And the truly unsettling part was that every single painting, every single photograph was of the same girl. A young girl with dark hair and pale skin. And in every single picture, without exception, her eyes were fixed forward, staring directly at him. It felt like 100 pairs of eyes were following his every move. A shiver traced its way down Ollie's spine. This was wrong. This was deeply, fundamentally wrong. He wanted out. He tried to back away, to pull the door shut and pretend he never saw any of it. But as he reached for the handle, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. It didn't just close. It was as if a powerful, unseen force had thrown it. The sound echoed in the small, dusty room, and then there was only a suffocating silence. Ollie was trapped. His heart hammered against his ribs. He rattled the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. He was locked in with her. He turned around, his back pressed against the cold, unyielding door. His eyes darted around the room, scanning the portraits that now seemed to mock him in the dim light. And then the impossible happened. The girl's eyes in the portraits, they began to blink, all of them in perfect, horrifying unison. A slow, deliberate blink, as if they were waking up. Ollie couldn't breathe. He couldn't scream. He could only watch in silent terror as the girl's expression began to change. Slowly, a small, knowing smile started to stretch across her lips in every single picture. It wasn't a happy smile. It was cold, predatory, and then a voice echoed from one of the portraits, a chilling whisper that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You finally came." Ollie stumbled backward, his legs barely able to support him. He was trying to process what was happening, trying to convince himself this was just a nightmare. But the cold of the room, the smell of dust, the chilling voice, it was all too real. His eyes frantically searched the room for an escape, for anything that made sense. But that's when he saw it. In the far corner, partially hidden by shadow, was an old wooden rocking chair, and sitting on it was the girl, the same girl from the portraits. She was wearing a simple white dress, her dark hair falling over her face. But something was terrifyingly wrong. Her feet weren't touching the floor. She was floating, suspended a few inches above the seat of the chair, as if an invisible puppeteer was holding her up. Slowly, she lifted her head, and Ollie wished she hadn't. Her eyes were not human. They were two pools of pitch-black nothingness, voids that seemed to swallow the light. There were no whites, no irises, just pure, endless black. The cold smile was still on her face. When she spoke, her voice was a symphony of horrors, cracking and grating like broken glass. "Let me take your picture," she rasped, holding up an old antique camera that seemed to appear from nowhere. The lens was pointed directly at Allie. The flash was blinding. The next morning, the sun rose, casting its warm light on the old house. The family, worried that Ollie hadn't come out for breakfast, finally decided to open the forbidden room. The door, which had been locked so tightly the night before, swung open without a sound. The room was just as it always was, old, dusty, and cold. The furniture was covered, the portraits lined the walls. But Allie was gone. He was nowhere to be found. They searched the house, the village, the surrounding woods. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. But back in the room, there was something new, something that hadn't been there the day before. Hanging on the wall among all the others was a new portrait, a portrait of a young man, his face a mask of pure terror. It was Ollie, and from inside the frame his eyes were wide, alive, and watching everyone who entered the room. He had become part of her collection. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next chilling tale. Sleep tight.